Hi, I'm Andre Phillips, and today we're doing another run with the HusbanX4. I think it's the X4 H107C drone. The current temperature is about minus 18 degrees. We have a wind speed of 18 kilometers per hour. Now the drone is not very big, and I didn't dare to go to any height because of the wind. And anyway, you'll see in the flight part of it that I was having difficulties in trying to hold it when the wind would catch it. I mean, it would just it would just go on its own. One of the problems that I did find is that losing orientation. Once it got to a certain distance, and it wasn't really that far, maybe about 40 feet, 50 feet away from me, I couldn't really tell in the daylight which way it was going, and because of the winds and the updrafts and downdrafts, it was hard to determine using my stick. So after the fact, what I did, I got a captain's ticket, so I know all about port side and starboard side. So to help me determine orientation, I painted the port side and starboard colors onto the drone. I'll bring it up so you can see what we're looking at there. This is the front. If it would be a boat, we call it the bow. And so that tells me the green is my starboard side, which means to the right. The red is my port side, meaning to the left. So hopefully in the future that'll help me with orientation. Now the other challenge that I have that's presented to me outside of wind and the cold. Now remember, the cold affects the battery, and I did lose at one trial. I did lose control over the drone because the battery in my controller went dead prematurely, and that's because of the ambient cold. So it's a different environment when you're running in cold weather. Now I'm going to pan the camera so you get to see what kind of environment that I'm actually working the drone in. And again, I pick things difficult because I want to refine the skill for precision. And yes, I am a newbie at this, but I want to learn the proper techniques right off the bat. This is why I'm not using a first-person view drone. I'm using something very primitive that has no elevation control, no GPS, none of that. I want to have control of the thing on a line of sight, because common sense tells me that once I go to the higher models, there will be times that I may not have, for whatever reason, that I'll lose first-person view, and I'll have to rely on the skills to bring it back. And again, precision, depending on what I'm going to use the drone for, I have to learn to be very precise. I'm not, into distance breaking, into racing or anything. When I want to do a video, I want to do a video. I don't want to do racing or anything fancy. It's to do the job. So I'll take this moment and I'm just going to pan the camera around so you get to see how close quarters that I am. There's a lot of trees that I have on my property. So at any given point, I may have 4 or 5 feet between myself and the trees. Also, I'll bring out is that last night we had 30 centimeters of fresh snow fall, and this is why I've tried to keep the drone in on the trail, because if it were to fall into the snow, because the snow is so loose, but there is a chance that it could bury itself in the snow and I'd never find it. Actually, at one point I did, but I seen where it went down. It went down, it got covered with snow, but I seen that it went horizontally down, so it wasn't upside down, it was upright. And anyway, I said, well, I'll just try this. I moved my throttle up and set it on escalation, and sure enough, it popped right out of the snow and was once airborne again. So anyway, I'm going to just do a quick pan, and like I say, it gives an idea of what my challenges are. And again, that wind factor, and this little drone is so small that, you know, a mosquito farts and it'll make it difficult to use. So okay, what you see there, of course, the back side of me, so I'm just panning. So that's not too bad, but this big guy right here, he's a challenge for flying a drone. And move over to this part here and move. So lots and lots of branches all over the place. Do another move. And, you know, lots of branches around, and you know, right dead in front. So it's really, you know, I have to be careful. And again, I'm trying my best not to, not to lose the drone in the snow. You know, that's the whole purpose of this exercise. Again, it's precision, working with the elements, and what I'm finding out in the real life with this light little drone, and that's the beauty of working with something this delicate, is that you really get that experience, that first-hand experience of, you know, of updrafts and downdrafts and wind and whatnot. And you know, well, those are, you know, physics is physics. Whatever condition that I experience with the small drone, I'm going to experience with a larger drone. But because I'm taking so much time at this stage, I don't expect once I go to the commercial size drone that I'm going to have much of an issue. Of course, I'll have to familiarize myself with that particular drone and its peculiarities, but the basic handling. Now eventually I'm looking at getting certified, and just a note on certification. When I took my captain's tickets, my Masters of Minor Waters, the course was, I forget, 3 months, 4 months in duration, and not once did we learn anything about boat handling. What we learned was the rules of the road, how to recognize buoys, different lightings on different ships and different conditions, flashes from buoys. It was all, you know, regulations. It has nothing to do with boat handling. So a person could actually take their captain's ticket or their master's ticket and do very well on the course, but be piss poor at boat handling, but do very well on the course. Well, it's the same with drones. I mean, you know, it's all just regulations, and, you know, you can memorize those and play, you know, the scenarios in your mind and do very well, but that doesn't make you a good drone flyer, drone handler. That's a hands-on, that's a skill that is separate to the regulations. Now, in both cases, in marine and aviation, the regulations, a lot of them are common sense regulations anyway, so it doesn't take rocket science to, you know, to learn these regulations. You know, good old common sense will get you a long ways. So anyway, I'm going to present the footage of today's flight, which was done about 3 hours ago, and the conditions were, like say, a lot different. I think it was, you know, minus 16, minus 18, I don't know, somewhere like that. It was cold, and you know, 18 kilometer plus wind. No, I could have used the drone in sport or expert mode to give me a little bit more oomph, but again, that would mean that I would have to respond a lot quicker, and I just didn't want to take the chance of losing this little drone in the snow or in another person's property. Like I say, once the wind catches it, it moves very, very quick, and then the problem is compounded with up and down drafts. So you can study the footage, and it'll give you some feel of what challenges lay ahead of you when flying a drone, especially a light drone. So I started this flight in our driveway, and I kept my elevation very low. Again, because the winds were, you know, 16 kilometers plus, I didn't want to get any height at all is just not worth it, and I'm trying to keep it, moving relatively slow, and what I'm trying to do is trying to keep some smoothness to it, which is quite different from a month and a half ago when I first started flying this little guy. It was all over the place. Now there's power lines around, and I have to keep an eye on that, and there's trees. I mean, I'm plagued with trees. There's trees to the right, trees to the left, trees above, trees below. But things that I wanted to know was how well it would work in the cold, how long the batteries would last, all those kinds of little fun things. I mean, I'm keeping it at a height of about 20 feet, 15, 20 feet. I'm not getting much higher than that. Again, you see those notorious trees, and yeah, they can be a problem, especially with such a light vehicle as this HusbanX4. There's just no weight to it. I don't forget how many grams it weighs, but it's not much. So I'm kind of heading eastbound and flipping around westbound, and just overall getting the feel of it. But the winds are going to pick up again, and it's going to you'll see the videos will become a lot more shakier once the wind starts catching up. Like I say, my base rate was about 16 kilometers, and that's 16 kilometers. I mean, if I'm going into the headways, the drone's not even moving forward. It could even be moving backwards. It's just too much wind for that size of a drone. The bigger ones would handle that. I mean, some of the commercial drones, I mean, they can handle up to 30, 40 kilometer winds. So. Now, that looked like almost a crash, but it wasn't. It was just a hard landing. And what was happening, I think I was starting to lose control, and anyway, I brought it down quite quickly so it wouldn't fall into the snow. Again, the snow could damage the drone because of the snow getting into the electronics, and once it starts to thaw, of course that's water, and electronics don't like water, especially salt water. Well, right now that's not going to be an issue for me until I get the commercial drone for doing actual commercial video recording. And okay, so now I've moved to the back of the yard. There was a little interlude there, and now I'm getting the wind right off the river. That's 16 kilometers, 18 kilometers, and possibly gust of 22 kilometers. And you can see that it's moving around a lot. I'm just having difficulties trying to keep control. It's just and again, as what I said in the intro, I've got to deal with all these trees around me, so I don't have much room for error. Maybe 3 feet, and a light craft like this. I mean, right now, I'm at a height of maybe 10 to 12 feet, and I'm struggling to try to keep it going on a straight line, and as you can see, it's it's shifting all over the place. It's to the right, to the left, up, down, because I'm also getting a lot of up and down currents, and especially near the little trailer in the workshop, there's quite a bit of wind funneling that's taking place there. It's just these are all the things that this little drone is teaching me, because once I get into the larger drones and start pushing the limits more, I'm going to know what to anticipate. So that's half the battle in not crashing your drone. And the whole exercise in this is to minimize the amount of crashes, which now I can almost go through a couple flights without any crashes. A month and a half ago, about every 30 seconds I was crashing the drone. Well, I lost one drone. I just had such a bad crash, it totally demolished it. I mean, it was like over. The only positive thing is that I got a parts drone for this one here. It's but normally at this height here, I should be flying relatively smooth, and it's just not happening. The wind's catching it. I tried, to focus in on the boat, and it just turned me around again. Again, you see those trees ahead of me. Now it looks like I've come down for. No, I'm still moving. I thought I might have. There's one where I've actually crashed it into the snow, and anyway, but that wasn't it there. It must be upcoming. Again, you'll notice that I'm flying very, very low, and I repeat myself. Yes, it's because of the winds. Anything higher, I just know I'd lose the drone. With a 16 plus kilometer wind, the little drone, can't really handle that speed of wind. Now I could put it in what's called sports mode or expert mode, which it's like putting it on steroids. But I keep seeing that snow getting close, and I get wondering, is this the one? Yes, this is I don't know if this is the one that might have been it. That might have been the one that I buried it and used its own power to bring it back to life. It's always exciting because you never know what's going to happen. You try your best not to have any, bad. Oh, there's old mongrel mutt there. He likes to get into the scene every time. And that, so I'm coming up to pretty well an end of this flight. Okay, now this is taking now the following day. This is now February 9th. The previous one was on February 8th. There is very little wind, 5 kilometer wind, and I'm just again, I kind of do my warm up, and anyway, the snow blower street cleaner had come through, and I thought it'd be kind of neat to see if I could, keep it in between that. If I go too much to the right, too much to the left, I'm going to be into the snow. So that was successful. So we do an about face and get very close, and what I'm also looking for is for some funneling effect on that. Again, help me get the feel, and get it at that it's not a thought process, and that takes time to get to the point that you become part of the part of the unit. Yeah, there was a little spill there. I took a little nosedive. Nothing serious. It landed on its feet, and we're back in power. Now, where the winds are light, 5 kilometers and less, I got a little brave. You'll see that in a few minutes there. Again, it's, this is a very sensory thing, because remember, this drone doesn't have altitude hold. It doesn't have any GPS. It's pretty raw, but it's a good skill developer, and being just a novice, I find this is the best way to learn. Do the hard stuff first, and then move on to the easier stuff, because the skills and accuracy that's learned with this little drone can be transferred to the higher end drones, and I just think that it makes a person a better pilot. I have to kind of thank Mark Goslin, the owner of the Reversing Jet Boat Ride, when he taught me how to run the jet boats through Reversing Falls. You know, he taught me some good attitudes on you know, on learning, safety, common sense, think ahead, all those things. Now, I'm getting it up to an elevation of probably 80 feet here, and the wind's not affecting it too bad. You know, you can see I am moving a little bit around, but a lot of that is because, you know, that height is just a little black dot in the sky. I can't really tell. But I was able to keep track of the orientation, so I always knew which way it was pointing at any given time. And of course, it was a downdraft that brought it down quite quickly, and I think there might be one or two of those that will take place as you know, as I'm flying it. Now, I went through 2 batteries on this here. My controller had fresh batteries. Yesterday I ran into a problem, and I think that's what caused one of the crashes, was that my batteries in my controller, because of the cold, died prematurely. So the lesson is that if you're going out in the cold, always use fresh batteries. You know, it'll keep you out of trouble. And depending on the cold, makes you know, the difference in the rate on how the battery will discharge. So I'm going again, trying for another little bit of elevation here. I'm pointing to the west, and you know, you can see I'm already above the telephone poles, but not quite above the trees. But I'm going to try to get above the trees on that, and that'll put me at around the 90 feet mark. Now, what you see from the camera, the drone is actually about another 5-6 feet higher than that. It's just the way the camera is positioned on the drone, so you're not getting the full height. That's off about 5 feet at that height. To get a real good panoramic, I would probably have to go 200 feet, but that's beyond the capabilities of this little drone. I think if I can get 150 feet out of it, I'm pushing the limits. Again, I wouldn't try that at this time. If I did, it'd be in a very open field to where if I did lose it, I'd have a chance of recovering it. Here in this little subdivision, at 150 feet, if it were to drift anyway, the likelihood of recovery would be highly remote. And like I say, this is a primitive. It doesn't have return home or anything like that. As you can see there, the wind took it for a little spill. But it looks like we've got ourselves a pretty good landing. I think we're just going for one more flight, and well, maybe no. I think that's a wrap up on this flight. My lights are flashing. It's telling me my battery's going dead. So I've got to get it quickly back to me. And again, that's part of the exercise, right? I see the lights flashing. I only know that I have maybe a minute and a half at best to bring the craft back to me. And it looks like I'm kind of pushing it there because I did see the lights flashing. I guess I'm getting a little confidence, and if I get cocky, that's how I'm going to end up losing this drone. And that's the way it gets you. It doesn't matter what you do, right? Once you get a little cocky and a little overconfident, that's when, pardon the expression, shit hits the fan. Anyway, until the next flight, thanks for joining me. I hope it's been a little interesting. At least I know for a drone enthusiastic, this is probably a good thing. Okay, till next time, take care.